Hello everyone, this is another band instrument review from instruments from my own collection. The first one I'm going to review is going to be one that's actually for sale, so if you inquire about it, it may be gone by the time you look at it. But what we're going to do today is compare baritone horns. A Bell Forward Martin from 1948, a 1912 York baritone horn, and a Yamaha YEP 321, which I consider more of a euphonium than a baritone horn. Euphonium is generally a larger bore instrument, so sometimes they call it a tenor tuba. And I'm a tuba player. If you look at other videos on my channel, you'll see me playing various antique York and King and Con, Elkhart, Stencil, Con, sousaphone tubas on my channel, and you'll see other reviews. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to play all these instruments with the same Bach 5 mouthpiece. Since I'm a tuba player, I like a little bigger mouthpiece. This is a little small for me, but even when I was in high school, I had a special Bach 1.5G with a small shank built for me. It took a long time for it to show up, but it allowed me to get a really nice dark euphonium sound. Now the problem with that, of course, was kind of limited your high range. You had to really work to get up there. Second of all, I'm mostly playing the tuba these days, and I rarely get to play the trombone in the Foxtrot Orchestra in the videos, so my lip's not that great. It's not in that great shape, but I think I play well enough that you'll be able to compare these three instruments, get an idea what they can do and what they sound like and what they're good for. Now, of course, the Bell Forward baritone horn's really good as a marching instrument or an outdoor instrument because it concentrates the bell sound forward. You'll see in a dance band that I play a Bell Forward King, and that's very authentic for the period. But so is my upright York. The King's from 1920s, like 1925, and my York is a 1916 York. You'll see them in other videos. This horn's from 1948, so it's just after World War II. As I said, the York baritone that I have here is a high-pitch, low-pitch horn, and it's from 1912. And then the Yamaha is, of course, a much newer instrument. They're all in silver plate, so the debate versus lacquer and silver plate and raw brass, well, you can go nuts with that. My personal take on that, which will make me unpopular, probably is that it's crock. Okay, if you want to change the sound of the instrument, why don't you put in a different mouthpiece and get used to how that works if you want to change the tone color? Why make your instrument look like a piece of crap? That's my opinion, and it's a strong one. So without further ado, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a study that was common for us to play back in the 70s when I was learning how to play these things. I started in the 4th grade on the instrument and essentially never pulled it down, so you can imagine how old I am now. Alright, so let's go with this study. I think this was for All City Band in like 1975, so that'll give you a good age how old I was, and I actually made first chair. So, here we go. Nice sound, a little bright. The Bell Forward gives it a brighter sound than, say, the upright instruments do. Good for outdoors. It's a really nice instrument. Valves are in amazingly good condition. Picked this up at an estate sale many years ago. But I don't use it that much, so that's why I'm not holding on to it. Remarkably easy to play. This is a York baritone horn. I believe Yamaha does make a model instrument that's more or less a copy of this, but without the little guides for the high and low pitch. And there's lines that are inscribed on here for exactly where you pull these slides out to put the instrument in tune. And then you can swap this over, and it's got the patent date July 12th, 1910 right here. And you can pull this over and put these two together, eliminate a little loop in here, and that gets you into a high pitch horn. It also has the typical beautiful engraving that's just be hard to see in this pictures, but of florals and all that stuff, you know, back from the old European horn makers that went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, back in the turn of the century. So those craftsmen came over from Europe and built Elkhart, Indiana, and Grand Rapids, and you know, the people who were responsible for all these wonderful old instruments that we have to play. So here we go, same study. So we can hear me have some problems with my lip tightening up. That you get an idea of what the instrument sounds like. It's in remarkably good condition for its vintage, and it's a real survivor. It shows obvious repairs on the braces, but can't complain too bad about it. Now, it does play flat, even with the bigger mouthpiece. Sometimes you have to put a really small one in, and that makes it very buzzy in sound, and I don't care for the sound of that. So on my tuba, I actually had these slides modified slightly so that I could bring it up to modern pitch, because back then a 440 was probably a 430 or less. And so it's hard to keep a vintage instrument up to pitch. I suppose you could also have the lead pipe cut down to get there. Okay, so now we'll move on to the modern Yamaha. I had the brass version of this instrument, you know, without the silver plating, back in the 1976 when they probably first had just come out. And valve plating wasn't that great back then, and they weren't that great. But the silver one's really nice. Now the problem I'm going to have in playing this etude is I'm going to have to use alternate fingerings. I'm so used to playing free valve antique instruments, and it might trip me up a little bit. So cut me a little slack on the review, and I appreciate it. The thing I've always noticed about Yamaha instruments is they're very soft. You can press them and get, you know, and see how the brass flexes. But what this allowed them to do is sing really nice, really resonate with the player. And with one of these, I was soloist best of kind back in, I guess, 1975 as well. So that says something. I was best of kind in Dallas for what that was worth. Anyway, we'll give this study one more time, and you'll be able to hear how this compares with the other instruments, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Okay, so you can see that I was having a little problem. My lips tightened up. I'm having a real problem with the lower register. But on the Yamaha, indeed, because of its larger bore and 4 valves, it just plays the lower notes better. Now, I have played the Besson 4-valve compensating instruments, and of course, they play in better tune and they play better than these instruments. And I've played the Besson Sovereign. I'm not sure what model number that is, but the Besson Sovereign I played was a bright silver plate, and it was very large bore, and you could play in a tuba register pretty easy and in tune. I've also had a Holton 5-valve double bell from 1912 as well, and that was a neat instrument because the valves were arranged 3 and 2, and the 3 valves here, forward action, had pitch. The 5th valve changed the tenor bell to play, but the 4th valve was super flat. You really couldn't use it for C. It was almost a B natural, and the difference for that was is that it was meant to keep you in tune when you were playing in a tuba register. So double bell euphonium, back during the golden age of the traveling bands, was of course the cello of the band, and so it had a very important part, and the euphonium soloists at the time were legendary players, and they would have an instrument like this to be able to change tone colors with a tenor bell, and then to show off the range playing all the way down to the tuba register and then all the way into the trumpet register. Well, my lip's not that good. I hope you enjoyed the review of the Yamaha YEP 321, which is really a beautiful instrument. Well, 321S for silver plate. The patent date 1910 York Baritone, and notice that the upright baritone has 3 valves and the top loop, typical, goes over here, and that was very typical of instruments of its vintage. And then the later 1948 Martin, that is the Martin with the typical Martin fleur-de-lis on there, and it's just a really fine, nice old horn, and it's kind of nice that someone put this sheepskin on here, which keeps you from having to, wipe down the horn and worry about the finish. I hope you've enjoyed the review and the comparison and hearing these old horns. They're fun to play. I wish I had more opportunities to play them, but c'est la vie. I get paid to play the tuba. Thank you for your time. Best of luck.